Welcome to the COSB 360 Conversations podcast, the platform for county influencers. This is a new platform being launched by County HR's Organizational and Talent Development Division to engage with our leaders and keep our workforce informed. This is also one way that we can share the efforts of departmental staff and what it takes from a leadership perspective to keep the wheels turning in our organization. This podcast is being co-hosted by June Mighty and Dr. Leonie Mattison.
I wanted to say, a lot of times people don't really take stock in terms of who they are, where they sit in the space of time, And so I was thinking, it's like, wow, you are a CEO of this mid-sized organization in what moving.com considers the largest state population-wise, which is California. You sit along the Central Coast. And you are leading an organization where you started an organizational transformation effort, initially started in 2016, really started to sink your teeth into this in 2017, multi-year transformation, CEO going along, and she now comes up on her third anniversary. She hits this fire. You're leading us through this, the largest fire in California history up to this point, right? Then we're going into the 3-year anniversary of the mudslide, which is January 9th. You are taking us through COVID, 9 months into COVID. We don't know as a country where that's going to end. We're just going through this. And along with COVID, parallel with COVID, you have some of the largest social unrest, social injustice issue that has arisen in the history of this country. Wow, Mona Miyasato, you are something else.
Yeah, you guys have been all through it too. I mean, everyone in the county's been through this whole journey that we'll always remember.
Yeah, we're doing it together, but it's another thing, it's like, there's too much is given, much is required. And there's one thing to sit at it from my seat, and it's another thing to sit at it and have to lead it from your seat, right? So we always have to show honor where honor is due in that capacity. We're all in it, yes, but we all have these different perspectives and different roles. So I know Leonie would co-sign on this in terms of, as I sat and I thought about it, I just wanted to say, thank you for taking us through this and for being with us through this whole process.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
It's like I said, it just hit me this afternoon. I'm like,
no, I remembered yesterday because I was doing a presentation to the Consolidated Chamber of Commerce, and it wasn't a presentation because we're in COVID, so they were just filming me speaking. And before that, I did a presentation over Zoom to the new supervisors training at CSAC for new board members. And I had the EOC count up how many times we've had to open or declare. And since I've been CEO, I've had to declare a disaster or an emergency 17 times. And we've activated the EOC almost 50 times. Before that, in my previous county where I was the number 2, I don't really remember us actually. We did a lot of training, but I don't remember having to activate the EOC. And before that, I was in a city for 10 years in Southern California. And I think we activated maybe once, and that was it. And so in I've been CEO now for 7 years, and these last 7 years, that's an incredible amount of emergency and disasters. And we've had everything, not just fires. We had an oil spill. We had storm, we had the debris flow as a result of the Thomas fire. And at the end, we had, when I first got here, it was like 6 months later after I first got here, we had the Isla Vista shootings. And at that time, that was the largest mass casualty event we'd had in the county. Right. And then fast forward, and then we had the debris flow. And unfortunately, that was the largest, mass death event in the county. And then after that, we had the Conception dive boat incident off the Channel Islands. And that became the largest mass casualty event in our county. And so it kind of just goes to show you that this pace of things are really picking up worldwide. And we're just a microcosm of all of that.
Correct.
But I appreciate what you're saying. It's a team thing. It's never just me. It's the whole, it's everyone, all the department heads, EOC, all of you, everyone doing their part. And that's not just talk. That's true. That's true. Everyone is doing their part and doing their role. And I just am trying to help navigate and move people in the right places. But it's really the energy of the whole organization, the whole community that allows us to be successful.
Yeah.
And let me interject. So thank you for that. I'm not even sure if we really opened the show, but it's opened.
It's open.
But this is so it's important for our employees to hear that from you, Mona. We've launched, I don't know how many podcasts we've launched this year. And just so you know, and for those who are listening, we use the podcast show as part of our training and development. So some of the prerequisites for some of our courses, we ask our employees to go watch the Mona video, go watch what Mona said, transformative behaviors.
You don't call it the Mona video, do you?
I actually do sometimes. Go watch the Mona series.
But we do sometimes, and sometimes we say, the CEO. So we go back
I
and forth.
prefer the Mona video than the CEO video. That's okay, but that sounds so funny.
Well, it's so important because they're hearing it from, the leaders. It's coming from your heart, believe it or not. That's what we've heard from employees. It's like, wow, she's so personable. We believe her. We can go along, as you were saying, it's all of us doing this together. So I just want to applaud you for just calling out how many emergencies we as the county meaning the place where we live, and as an organization, because the very nature of what we do and who we are is really surrounding public service. And as you described, it's public service and the catastrophes that comes with that, right? So public servants, we are prone to having to deal with, a multitude of different catastrophes. So thank you for pointing that out. I know the employees will truly appreciate that.
No, and here to your department too. Well, I have the mic and I have the camera. That your department is something really innovative that I'd never seen done before in emergency, and that was the matching program of trying to match individuals and employees with jobs that were needed in the emergency, and doing almost like a private employment matching agency, even with people outside the county. It was innovative, and CSAC recognized it with an award this year. So congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to just transition into this really quickly, and I'm going to shift gears. I did say something about ambiguity, but as we're talking and I'm listening to you, Mona, several years ago, and again, it may have been sometime in 2017. When you do speak, I listen.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Does that make sense?
And I pick up on different nuggets. And so one of the things when you're talking now about all these things and activations, 17 of them since you became CEO over these past 7 years, one of the things that you talked about that was important is resiliency, right? And I've heard you use that word. And so with that, from a leadership perspective and all that is happening, talk to us a little about how this even makes you, your team, us as an organization. How do you see that even in terms of building resilience? And I think at one of the board meetings, I don't remember which one of your presentations, you also talked about building the sustainable organization to be able to transform and to meet the needs of the future. I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of where you are going. Share a little bit with us about that, because your leaders do listen to that, and I know they get a lot from that.
Well, I think I'm going to put in context of what we're dealing with now. And and I preface this by saying this isn't an original idea with me, but it's definitely aligned with what we've been talking about. McKinsey & Company did this whole series about how do you return stronger after COVID. And one thing that really resonated with me was that the return is like a muscle. They said, don't think of when you return to whatever that is as you're just going back to what you were doing. Think of the return as a muscle, because we've learned so much in these last months. 9 months, 12 months. We've learned so much. And what we've learned is how to adapt quickly, and that we can adapt quickly, and that we can be creative and innovative, which is all about transformation. Someone said it's like being thrown into a pool, a very cold pool, right? And it's uncomfortable and it's cold and you want to get out and it's upsetting, but after a few minutes, it's fine and you can swim along beautifully. And after a while, you don't want to get out, and it's desirable to still be in the pool. And that's kind of where we are. We got thrown into this situation and we had to all adapt quickly. And I think what it showed me is that when we all can. And it just continues to add to our muscle, right? That we know how to exercise. And I think what we're trying to do with Renew 22 was a slow conditioning process, so to speak, of getting to that point. And then we just got thrown into the pool and now we have to swim. And so I think it's all aligned. It's just accelerated it. And for all of us who've been through it, I think we should all be proud and take the time to say, okay, what did I do? What did I do personally? What did I transform? How did I transform in these last 9 months? Did my thinking change? Did my body change? Did my workload change? Did my lifestyle change? All those things are rolled up into it. So when we talk about transformation in a resilient organization, we're talking about, first of all, ourselves, resilience in our own selves. And then for the organization is looking to see how we continue to build that muscle. Because I can't tell in the 21 departments, I don't know, and I can't tell everyone, this is what it means for you in your department. But what I can tell you is this is what it means for you as an employee and what you bring to the job and what your mindset could be and the possibility of what you could bring to yourself and the job. And that's part of the transformation as well.
Now, follow up with that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Following up on that, a lot of times we're prepared for where we are. There's a preparation process. And you already seem to have at least I like to call it a bent, towards that, the transformation and embracing that. Where did that come from? Or did you notice it from before? And how have you personally cultivated that?
I don't know. To me, it seemed obvious. I looked at what we could be and what we are capable of as an organization. I looked at where we are or where we were, and just said, in my head, there's a gap of what we really could be. I know we could be, and where we were, and I knew we had to close that gap somehow. So that was the analytical part of me. The other part of me was that I myself, in my own life and career, I've been in different organizations, and just had to completely change my life. Stopped my husband and my dog. So if he's ever watching that, I don't mean you. We had to really uproot ourselves and be very uncomfortable. And if you do that enough, and you guys know, because you've had different careers, both of you, I know that you have different careers and different life experiences and been in different places, and you know that builds a muscle in you. You learn to adjust. You learn, okay, what do I do? I'm in a completely new job, completely new environment, completely new city or living condition. I don't have the same set of friends that I can just call up in 15 minutes, go out with, et cetera. So when you put yourself into those situations enough time, you do grow, right? Out of pain there is growth. And for me, I think just having those situations occur at kind of regular intervals in my career helped me. I'm not afraid of having to put myself in that situation and change. Now, it also means you can make a lot of mistakes, as we all know. That happens in our life, and you have to be open to the mistakes as well. But I think, so when you talk about transformation, transforming the organization and ourselves, it's just getting experience doing it. I think, unless you guys think differently, I think that is really the only way that you build that muscle. right?
I'm totally on board, and I'm waiting for Leonie to jump in because
I'm ready to jump because
I saw that. I wait. I'm like, she's taking notes. She's
I'm ready to jump.
No, you're right on target there. Right on target. Great example. Great example.
Absolutely. She said, out of pain, there is growth. And recently I was thinking about transformation. And I've always said that transformation is from the inside out. The people must be transformed first before the organization as an institution can realize or even manifest the transformation to the public. And so what I have come to respect about the County of Santa Barbara, your leadership and the leadership of the executive team and all the leaders across this organization is the at that point in time when you said there was this dissonance between where we were and your vision for where we could be, right? And Brene Brown said something this week that I captured from one, I think is Dare to Lead. She said, I wrote it down, who you are as a leader is how you lead. You are. And so we've seen that. That's what we've been experiencing. So I've always watched like, geez, this is how Mona is. It's painful, but I'm like, it's so painful. This is so painful. I'm being transparent. So painful. Like, this is the time I just want to just stop. And like I always tell my staff, you can just slingshot me back to Jamaica. But here's the thing. The part about that, Mona, is that change is tough in the beginning. And you've experienced that. I have a friend who's now a city manager, and about 70% of her staff, the leaders, transitioned out. And I said to her, don't worry, you should follow my CEO. You just go watch her and you learn from her. Because in the beginning of leadership or anything life tossed our way, it's difficult, right? And so we've gone through that between 2017, 2018. Amid everything else, that the fire and the shooting, right? Then Maria and Lena came in with this messy middle. Then it's messy in the middle because now you're pulling things apart. You're saying to people, no, we can't function as we normally would. We've got to change. And so you're forcing them in a way. You can say you're empowering them, but it feels like you're forcing change. And I know in our organization, we love to say, this is how it's always been done, right? But now I feel like we're at the cusp. We came in as a caterpillar, and I see us flying out as a butterfly. We're soaring. So we're now at this beautiful transformational stage. COVID-19 hit, but it didn't stop us. And that's what I heard you just applauded HR for the innovation. It didn't stop this organization and its people from saying, we are aware, we acknowledge that we're in the midst of this crisis. But within us, and I love what Supervisor Doss Williams says, nobody's going to save you. You are the one who's going to save you first. And then you put the mask on and then you help others. So I just want to applaud that statement of out of pain, there is growth. There's growth. And it's painful. The whole process itself is difficult. But there is, as they said, a light at the end of the tunnel. And we just need to stay the course so that we can see what that beautiful butterfly eventually, what it looks like. So I thank you for saying that.
On the issue about pain, I had a teacher who once said to me, pain is real, danger is real, adversity is real, but suffering is your choice.
Yeah.
And it's right. So it's how you get through it. It's really your choice.
Yes. Yes.
I like that. I like that. You're saying some things, one, that we're going to be incorporating in the leadership training.
Yes. It's real. It's practical. It's real.
It's very practical because one is and I'm going to tell you what we've done, and even with the supervisor, you mentioned Supervisor Williams, he gave us a little bit of, I don't know if you saw his, but he talked about the Chronicles of Narnia, different examples, right? Which I thought was so cool, right? And I think with what some of the leaders, like say, for instance, the supervisor boot camp and also the management development academy that we've just completed, right? What we did, I did go out and I did say, this is part of what we are doing. We are using the cards aspect, which you covered, which was excellent for us. It was a great finding because we're now showing that and said, okay, this is what we're doing. So transformative behaviors, and have them go through and look at the video. In addition to that, then there was one session that I did where I took everything that we were doing from a new 22, went online, pulled down all the information, and have them actually do an activity as relates to their mission and vision of their organization,
Great.
their division, their departments, and then the county as a whole, and looking at alignment, and also, you know, encourage them to find resources and different things. But regardless of what's going on, everything that we do still needs to align to the overall organization. So with that being said, one of the things I'm gonna just step ahead. With that being said, where do you see us possibly as an organization? What do you envision? I know we still have Renew 22. We still have goals that we're pursuing there. But as you look out as a visionary, and Leonie just loves this aspect as a visionary, where do you see us going? What do you anticipate as some of those things that it may cost us some pain, but again, we have a choice in terms of how we do this thing. So what are some thoughts there?
So there's a couple of things. One is, as far as where's the county going, it's really, that's the board's policies of what kinds of policies. And if you've seen them so far, they are very anxious to take advantage of some of the changes that have been made through COVID and see how we can maintain them. One is the jail population. Jail population is now at a historic low, and no one wants to say we want to jeopardize public safety. I mean, we're all residents of this county. I am. I want to make sure that there's that we're safe. But having said that, there's a whole system, a criminal justice system. So the board is interested in, hey, if these things have already happened, what's the impact and what can we maintain? And then looking at the whole criminal justice system, are we having the outcomes that were intended? And I said in my opening, what's the progress being made and for whom? So it's those kinds of things, that sustainability, we're making big strides in all of that. So I'm going to talk about what for the organization, just like Renew 22. I think for us, I think Renew 22 is still a solid framework and one that we should be using. And we talked about the strategic behaviors and all that, because we're not there yet.
Right.
We're in a process of transformation, but as Leonie in her description, we're not the butterfly yet flying away. But I think that parts of it are relevant to what we need to do immediately. And one is, like I said, our mindset has to be that the return is a muscle. We have new ways of operating. And the danger, and you guys talked about transformation, and these models of change, you get to this point where it's the danger zone. The danger zone that you could slip back. Right? And so when we come back from COVID, there's the danger zone of people trying to going back, and we should be really looking at, and I've asked my staff to talk through the departments, through our ORMs, about articulating what did you do during COVID that was different? What do you want to keep? What do you want to get rid of? What do we have to restart just because we have to? But let's amplify those new practices. Let's do that. That's one thing. Two, the thing that became obvious to everyone is that the COVID and our recovery are going to be digital, right? Look at us. Now, a year ago, would we have thought about doing this? Would you, June and Leonie, say, hey, let's do this video podcast? No, we wouldn't have. So we have to change. We've quickly changed our practices and our expectations.
Right.
So let's continue with that. And I keep saying right now, let's change our customers' expectations.
Exactly.
If this is going to be, if org development is now going to be through this medium and it works well, let's change that expectation and not expect that Leonie and June are going to invite them to our staff meeting with all these people and talk, no, let's start changing that expectation. And also how important data is. This whole COVID episode, what are we doing? With public health, we're looking at the stats every day. What's our hospitalizations? What's our cases per 100,000? What's our testing per 100,000? We are really looking at data, and what we found, and we already knew, was that in some areas we were data poor. In some areas we're data rich and some were data poor. But throughout the county, we have to do a better job of analyzing that data and finding meaning. It's not just having data, it's finding meaning in it. And so that will continue. And we talk about that as part of Renew too. Another thing is speed. What we've also learned is how quickly we've had to make decisions, how quickly we've all had to adapt, how quickly we've had to use things. So how do we continue to increase the speed of what we do and still be accurate and still provide good service and all those things? And one is we're doing the SBC Innovate, which was the
Yes.
and I'm not sure, am I saying that right? Is it Innovate?
Yes,
SBC?
you are. Yeah,
Okay.
Innovate
Innovate SB.
Yeah, Innovate SB. Yeah.
Okay, and Innovate SBC, which is looking at how we streamline processes, right? So that we can increase our speed. And the second thing we can increase speed by is empowering people to make decisions so it's not tied up at the top, which is what you are doing through the supervisor training and the LCP and all those wonderful programs, is to help people become better decision makers by understanding their roles. So those things. Another thing is we're going to have to be working in hybrid teams, right? We're going to have virtual and we're going to have on-site. We have it now. And right now, some departments are shifting. I know in my office, we have some people in, some people out, and they're never here the same days, and it varies. But as we emerge from COVID, I think that's going to be more normal. And we may have people who just never come into the office at all.
Absolutely.
And as you know, many experiments have been tried. Many organizations have done complete work from home and have varying levels of success. It's very hard. And now that we've all done it, we know that we're going to have these hybrid work groups. And so how do we make that work? And I think the one thing I've read that makes it work is you really have to go and reemphasize the social cohesion and the belonging and whatever that binds people together in your culture has to be really emphasized and consciously promoted so that people still have some connection to each other, even if it's virtual. And the last thing is just doubling down and reminding everyone of our purpose. And Leona, you said it. We're public servants. This is a calling. It's not just an occupation, it's a calling. And in the emergency, we've seen how much the public needs us. And it doesn't matter if you're not, a public health worker or a nurse, down to the receptionist who's taking calls, to the person who's working with departments on spreadsheets or time cards, all the way down. The whole system is there to provide that service and to remind everyone that's important. And we're all here for a reason at this time to do this service. And that's our purpose. And how can we make that meaningful for individuals and each of our employees?
But Mona, something that you just said about how do we, I guess, influence our customers' expectations, because that's really what we have to do. How do we influence what they can expect of us, right? And the word that actually jumped out at me is neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Wiring. And June and I have been talking about that. We're going to engage with someone that reached out to us from the University of Oregon, wanting to do some work around how do we help employees to rewire.
Hey, that's cool.
So we're going to be doing that. And then the other thing that you talk about that really piqued at my attention is then, okay, so for us internally, how do we hold each other accountable to not going back? And I think this is where mentorship comes in. This is where, going back to your comment about people feeling a sense of connection and belonging. And I'm excited about what, some new initiative that's coming down the pipeline around this topic, because trust, we talk about this with Wendy Modem, you don't build trust during a crisis. It's hard for me to trust you during a crisis to jump in a boat with you. Trust was already established. It's easier for me to say, I'm going to give Mona a chance, right? And I think that's something that I would like to push forward next year, is more mentorship, more of these cohorts. This is why we started new along that path. We're doing that with the different leadership programs. And we need that support from the departments, that the mentorship may not come all from the CEO's office, right? but that might be, maybe we have someone over in public works that can connect with someone over in HR, or the alumni talked about this, how important it was that, you know, they value going through LCP because now they're in the crisis, they're reaching out to one another. So I just really want to ask for your support and the leader's support that, one, we need to move toward the rewiring of the brain, for help our employees to rewire our brains first so we can influence that in the community, the people we serve. And then the second piece is, if you want to call it employeeship, connectorship, whatever ship we want to call it, but how we start building this strong connection. You see, I ain't using no food today because I'm hungry. I ain't using no food today because I'm not going to tempt myself. That we start building these strong bonds, right? So people know if they're stuck, you know, I feel safe to reach across the way and connect with someone in another department. I think that will really help us to not go back, right? And it will help us to either nurture where we are so we can push each other farther, or those who are along the way will say, you know what, I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to pull others along with me as well.
Absolutely. I love that idea of working with researchers on how we look at rewiring to, and that's part of resilience as well.
Yes.
But you remember the whole Gallup, the Gallup 10 questions about workplace engagement? And one of the questions was asking employees, do you have a best friend at work?
Yes.
And it's about that connection. And, you know, even if you don't have a best friend, you have a close friend at work. And it's it's telling of what kind of organization we want to build.
No.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things, thank you both for sharing your insights on this. You know, one of the things I liked about the things you were saying, Mona, is as I'm listening to one, again, it's coming across very authentic, and I love that. And you're giving us some very practical things in terms of where you see the organization going, what the priorities, what are the things that we could do. And these are things that we can continue to share with others, with those who want to become supervisors, with the supervisors, with the managers and the leaders across the organization. I can say to you that based on the ones that I've had the opportunity to connect with via Zoom in some of the sessions that we've done so far, a lot of our leaders and employees do not want to go back. They don't quite know what the future will hold, but a lot don't want to go back to the way it was, you know. And so whatever we do, I think we need to put together something where we truly drill down on all levels to say, what do the employees really want? Because what I'm hearing, a lot of people don't want to go back. They just think the future holds. You know?
Yeah, it's like you serve them out of June. It's like we've served them out of China where and then you want me to eat the paper plate. It ain't happening. It's just I'm not doing it. Right? No, we're going forward and we're gonna go forward, even if we have to start that assessment you were talking about, that evaluation tool of, I call it release, bless, and release. And you adapt some new things and you start some new things, right? And it's okay, just release it. I believe in sunrise and sunset. There's a reason for that, right? So the sun serves its purpose during the day, but don't come out at night. I want to sleep. Let the moon do its thing at night, right? I think that's what we've heard from our employees during training is, you know what? I am more productive. We're engaging, even though it's not a face-to-face thing, but I feel so connected. I don't feel like I'm missing out, right? And they're part of something that's bigger than them. And we want to keep that momentum going forward. So no, some things we might have to go back. I always say looking back doesn't mean you go back. Sometimes you peek over like, let me just look to make sure, but I'm not going back to Jamaica to live. I'm not going back. I'll go visit. I ain't going back to live. No.
I love your sunrise sunset metaphor. I'm going to use that. That's really great, Leonie. I love that. But you know, going back to something you said earlier too, though, it is our job to figure out the systems. So change happens within, and people have seen this new way of being, of working, and it's our job to figure out those systems that can make that work. So that spirit is still there of, hey, I've gotten so much better. And so it's our job, HR, my office, everyone to figure, okay, what are the systems to continue that? But also give the managers and the board and the public a feeling of accountability, right? So what are those systems? And that's really all our jobs to figure that out.
And I think overall we're doing a great job of that. And you talked about Innovate SBC. And I think as we move that forward, I think you will see even more with that session as well, because when Jeff does the kickoff and then we're working with Brian and everyone, and you do the talk and he talks about the idea, this is not doing more with less, but we're really empowering people to make changes and make decisions that will make their piece of the world a little better, and they have that control to do it, and we're giving them the tools to be able to do that. That is absolutely awesome, and as we're looking ahead, I know that we have to continue to develop our employees, not only in terms of the resiliency and the mindset, but giving them the skills and the tools to be able to maintain the sustainability and go beyond, right? Because we're preparing new leaders. And that's one aspect. But what I do want to do, and Leonie and I did this with Supervisor Williams, and I think even before we let you go, we should share with you as well about the feedback that we're receiving from the program. And so just being able to thank you as our executive leader and all the leaders across the organization for supporting the programs, because, I can't give you, we don't always record all the sessions, right? And there's a reason for that, because I want people to be free sometimes to share what's on there, not feel like we're keeping it into perpetuity, But the feedback that we're getting, Mona, in terms of people just saying, wow, some supervisor said, wow, I wish I had this 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I wish I had this 10 years ago, or I've been with the county 30 years and this is the first time I'm really getting something like this. This is absolutely awesome. We are getting such rich feedback. And then even when we did the graduations, to have some of the department heads join us, and just to listen. One of the things we did a little different with the supervisor boot camp was really good in terms of they had to go through, and it was a little while, but each of them went through in terms of what they actually captured and took away from the program, and we did that virtually, right? And so, but we have the documentation, and for them to be able to share, and for the leaders to be able to hear that you allowed me to take a program in the midst of COVID when everything was going on, but this is what I've learned, and this is a change that I'm willing to make, and I'm going to make, and so I want you and the leaders to know across the county that the employees your employees really value the opportunities that you have provided them.
Well, thank you. And it's hats off to HR, because you two are the ones who made it happen. I mean, we take these ideas and you get it into concrete and get it implemented and have the real touch with the employees. So thank you to you two and the whole HR team. And it, when we started Marine 22, part of it, I said, this whole thing that we're doing and all the things you guys have created in this, the boot camp and the LCP and Innovate SBC and all the things that we're doing, I said, we have to accelerate our leadership abilities in our employees. We have to accelerate it. And people like me and people of my generation, and even people younger than me, it's in our head, oh, you do this and then you do this. And I said, we don't have time for that anymore, people. Different world. You have to accelerate those skills in our employees, in younger employees, or not even younger, but less tenured employees.
Right.
And it's through experience, which we all know that's the best teacher, I believe. But not everyone's going to have that time for experience. So all the things we're doing is accelerating people's learning, their judgment skills, and their problem solving skills to get to a point where we want them, because we're not all going to be here forever, and we need to leave this place in capable hands.
So true. So true. So thank you so much to you and your team. Leonie, what do you want to say before we get ready to
wrap up?
Mona off to the rest of her duties.
As always, you're like my superhero, and you know that.
Aww.
You are. I admire your leadership. we get things done, and we get things done because we have your support and the vision. What's most important, Maria Elena would always say, when we're working together, where you taking us? Like, where are we going? I want to know what the end looks like. I'm not going, and I'll sit there and say, no, I want to know. I want you to paint that picture for me, because
Hey, were you the middle child, Leonie?
Yes.
That's
yes.
okay.
Yes, I am. So, it was so important that we have the Renew 22, and then the transformative behaviors came along, and then we're seeing more of the big picture. We're seeing more of it. And when we conceived the idea, for this podcast or videocast, as we're calling it now, I love what Supervisor Williams says. The people we serve don't understand what we do behind the scenes. We assume they do, but they really don't. And I've listened and watched enough board meetings where the public is engaged to go, they don't get that. I think we're missing out on the opportunity to really shed light and help them understand what we're doing behind the scenes. So I really applaud all the leaders who participated this year, and look forward to engaging more leaders and employees next year, because this is transparency. The vision was, how can we put wings on transparency? We talk about it, we put it in documents, but there's some of us are auditory learners, right? And so how do we reach that other side of our customers who may not show up at a board meeting, may not pick up a document and read it? This is a platform that really helps us to have our leaders come in, share with the public and with the other 22 departments, about what they're doing, what they're working on, and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on their leadership. So my question I have here is, I'm curious to know, crisis teaches us many things. Crisis. What is the one thing you've learned about yourself as, like, currently, like right now in 2020? Forget what you knew about yourself before. What is the one thing that COVID-19 like just put right in front of your face, and this is what probably your key takeaway going into 2021? What's that one thing that you've learned about yourself?
I think of that phrase, but for the grace of God go I. And it is that, you can't control everything that happens. And for me, that being the county executive officer, either I have a self-expectation, or I believe other people have an expectation that, we're marching along, we're doing all these things, and we are, but there's only so much that you can control. And there's only so much that you can do. And this is a public health emergency also. So I rely on public health leaders for the expertise. And so part of it is that we are part of a system and a network of different things happening simultaneously. And we are part of this big soup of activity, all of us. And that is what, that is part of what, the flow of events that are occurring. And my role in it is to be as gracious, to be as compassionate, to be as helpful as I can be. I think, as a leader, I always say, really, the most important thing I can do is to do what's ever necessary at that moment. If what's necessary at that moment is cleaning the trash can, and that's what I should do. Right. And this whole event it's kind of reaffirmed that I'm not really in control of all of this. Nobody is. But we together can make progress. We can move forward and help other people. But it is really finding that grace amongst all of us, meaning forgiveness of people, not being short with people, forgiving yourself. That is the most important thing. And I think I'm such a hard driver, and I'm so intense usually, that I've had to step back and appreciate that.
Okay, great response. And then the last question is...
I thought that was the last question.
No, the last question, that was my question, but the last question, to wrap it up, we want you to wrap up the session for us. And just maybe a quick message to our county family. What would you like to say to them? The floor is just all yours, just to speak from your heart and just send some cheers or holiday wishes to the employees and the county family members on a whole, the community.
Really, all our employees, every one of our employees, and our community partners, everybody, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We've had this amazing, incredible, tragic, devastating, confusing time. And I think it's shown us a lot of lessons. But one thing that's shown us more than anything is that we need each other. And that we need each other in real collaboration and real partnership. We've been doing things now that we've never done before with each other. It's opening our hearts and our minds to trust each other because we've had to. And so I want to thank everyone for doing that. And that means opening ourselves up to be a little bit different. And that's hard, but I think it's worked. And I just want to say thank you. It's been trying for everybody, but I really do thank you on behalf of myself and the board and my whole office and everyone else. And I'm hoping everyone has a peaceful holiday and takes the time for self-reflection and just being with their family and their friends and appreciating what we have.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mona.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Happy holiday.
Happy
All right.
holidays.
I hope we can talk to you not in this format. I haven't seen you guys in a while. So
I know.
at some point.
Yes.
Okay. See you guys later.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you for listening to the interview portion of our program. Up next, we will take a deeper dive into the topics covered and also provide some news and updates.
Well, Leonie, that was really, as we wrap this up, that was an awesome moment. This was an awesome session. I love her transparency and authenticity. It just comes across. It just comes across. And so I think this is also something that, yeah, I can see us using this in just so many different ways. Because as she's talking, I'm like, there's ways to tool this and this. And I'm thinking about the different programs and different people that should hear this message even now as we're getting ready to go into the holidays.
Absolutely. And then just, and let's remind ourselves to really follow up with that, the professor from the University of Oregon. We really need to get into that neuroplasticity, that rewiring of the brain. I think it will help to build safety and trust as well. And to Mona's point, it's the shared accountability that I'm going to hold you accountable. You're going to hold me accountable for not going back when we don't need to go back. It's okay to look back, right? And to reflect.
And to honor the past, Wow.
Honor the past, yes. And then my key takeaway, one, out of pain, there's growth.
And not only that is so true, but I also love the fact in terms of adversity will come.
Yes.
But you have a choice.
Yes.
You have a choice. And it's about
suffer or surrender.
I just and I that one hit me. That one hit me. And I was like, okay, yeah.
I took it. I said either I suffer or I surrender. The choice is always ours, right? You see it as an opportunity or you see it as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
It's always go back again. It's that mind. It's that mindset. How am I looking at this COVID-19 pandemic? How are we looking at it? How are we looking at it now? And can we look beyond where we are today and then determine how we want to come through it, right? I think that's what makes history so rich. All of our forefathers, our ancestors who really tried, June, they tunneled through the chaos and the tragedies just so you and I could be sitting here today. Yeah. And we owe it to the next generation to not give up, to not go back when we don't need to go back, and to work together, to connect together, right? To work together to help to come out as that butterfly, so to speak.
In the end, yeah, that's really, It's another great way to wrap up a Friday.
It is. It's a push one. You push it today, June. You got me to come today, so that's a good thing.
No, but you know what? Wasn't it inspiring? You know,
Always. You know, I'm writing stuff down and just, thoughts are just percolating. It's, to your point, you can't put a value on authenticity.
Mm.
It's either you're an authentic person or you're fake. There's really no in between, because it's going to show itself, right? And I just always value the conversations that we get to have with our CEO, to just hear her heart. And I believe that's going to come through when our employees and the class participants and community members watch this show. They'll really hear her heart.
Yeah. No, that's a fact, because it's there. It's there. It's on, and it's on point. And it resonates and reverberates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So another great session. This is our last one for this year. And so we already have ideas for next year in terms of, we're going to be focusing in the month of January in particular on Innovate SBC. So that's going to be one of our upcoming episodes. As it relates to innovation, this program that we are doing, the Innovate SBC Academy, that's being head up by Jeff Frapwell, and we're working in collaboration with our budget department to get this thing going. And we've actually trained over 63 employees already, and moving towards our goal. And we just really started in July as it relates to our green belt training. We did a black belt, but we just started in July as it relates to green belt. And then Deanna and I were talking even this morning that one of the things that we want to do is, in terms of focusing on this program and helping to promote it, because it's one of our newer programs that we are for marketing, right? We are going to, each of our MMC articles in January will feature probably one of the participants from the Innovate SBC program talking about.
That's wonderful.
So we have some great things, I think, coming up. We're also launching, not even launching, but re-implementing our LCP program in the spring that we had postponed this spring because of COVID. So that's coming down the pipeline, along with some other things, more information in terms of succession planning. You're doing the performance management, civil and respectful work. We have a host of things that people can expect in the new year. But I think what's important is that we're looking to just, again, collaborate with our department leaders.
Right.
We want to say thank you to all the department heads who were able to jump on and participate in those graduation sessions. My hat's off to you. I know it took a lot for you, but from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. And your employees really appreciated you making the time to join them in that process. So thank you all so much. And thank you also, Leonie, for, leading us through this. And as we're wrapping up the new year, I think we are even a more cohesive team as we came going out than we were coming in.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it has been a journey. And yeah, it has. And it's our first season. The podcast is our first season. And I think I'm impressed, first of all, the level of support that we've received. I know others would have been on the program had it not been for COVID-19. However, we were never sure, we had to try and figure out how we make time for this, right? And so it has been a learning journey, and enjoy the journey. And again, happy holidays to our entire county family. Thank you to all. I don't even know where my camera is if I'm looking in the camera.
Yes, you are.
But I just want to say a big thank you to all of our leaders here at the County of Santa Barbara, over the 23 departments, all the teams. Thank you to our community members who continues to trust us. There is a level of expectation that you have of us as public servants. And we get to serve you because that's the very nature of who we are. Right. And this organization stands for. So I just want to thank everyone for their support. We see the numbers going up on YouTube. I watch the numbers, I see it, and I'm excited. On LinkedIn, it's just like amazing to see how many people click and watch. And we're happy for where we see things are going. It's tough. It's a tough season, but we continue to remain realistic and optimistic that there is hope on the other. We're going to use our hope. Let's put it that way. Hope.
We're getting there. Yeah.
To get there, right? And that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you all for your continued support. We are one county, one future.
All right. And with that, see you in 2021 on the next COSB video cast. Talk to you later, Leonie. Have a good one.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
We welcome your thoughts and feedback. So if you have any questions for today's guest, or if you have any recommendation for future topics and guests, please contact our co-host. We consider all county employees to be influencers. So if you're working on an initiative or a program that has a positive impact in our county, please contact us with your idea.